Quarterback Max Kellerman. Was it unfair to make the Broncos play like this?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Stephen A. has brought this up all the time, right, over the last several months. Who didn't want the bubble? Who resisted it? If players are saying, no, we don't want to go into a bubble, we're going to exercise personal responsibility, then these are the risks you take. If everyone was on the IR, right, and they were just missing a lot of players because of that, would they have to play the game? Or if you don't want to play the game, forfeit the game. That's fine. You can forfeit the game. That's your right. But that's going to be an L. If you your only chance to try to win that game, they don't need to reschedule it, nothing like that, is play and win or take your loss. Hold that L. That's how it goes. Right? I mean, this is, Stephen A., this is not that complicated. I know it sounds harsh, but you want to get through the season? Yes or no? We're playing football in the middle of a highly contagious and tricky, disease, a pandemic. So these are the risks you take. And by the way, did someone break protocol in the quarterback room, right, on the Broncos? So hold on a second. It comes down to personal responsibility. If you're the players, you don't exercise any or enough, and then there's a COVID outbreak, you're missing players. The other team should have to forfeit, should have to postpone. No. You play the game, take your lumps, move on. The only way you postpone, Stephen A., is if there's a threat of contagion. If the medical experts say you can't play this game because we're going to transmit the disease, fine, I get it. Postpone. Other than that, you play the game and be, come what may.
Max, I'm not getting into the particulars in terms of, because I totally agree with you about the contagion part. I also agree with you from the standpoint that, look, the players had an opportunity to have a bubble. They didn't want a bubble. Here's where we part ways, and I emphatically disagree with you. I'm thinking about the fans in this regard. Max, this is an extreme situation. There are alterations. There are exceptions that are made when extreme circumstances take place. They did not have a quarterback. According to folks in the NFL, the Broncos actually called to try to beg the NFL to allow their quality control coach to come onto the field and play quarterback for them because he knew the playbook. That's how desperate of a situation it was. So you are the New Orleans Saints, and you walk into a game playing against a team that literally, not figuratively, literally has no quarterback. There's nobody to play the position. I would have rather had them, they've been made to forfeit the game than be subjected to that kind of stuff. Because again, you're playing, you still got defensive players, you're still playing a football game. It's still a violent sport. Somebody could ultimately go out there, get themselves hurt, et cetera, et cetera. I understand this kind of stuff comes with it. I get it. But I'm saying that there are extreme circumstances that could take place at a time where you're literally looking at a game and saying, we're really going to play this game. You have a situation where no quarterback was available. And when I heard the news Saturday night, Max, no quarterbacks are available for the Denver Broncos, you know what I actually thought about and tried to speak to the NFL about, but I couldn't get anybody on the phone over the weekend? I actually think that it's gotten to a point where the NFL should halt the season for 2 weeks so everybody could get their ducks in a row, everybody could get their act together, and then come back after that 2-week hiatus and have a bubble kind of atmosphere in their respective cities.
Now you're talking.
And just enforce it for the last month to 6 weeks. That's how bad it was Saturday. You can't, to me, you're cheating the fans, even though there weren't any in attendance. They're watching on TV. When you tell a football team to show up without a damn quarterback, that's extreme. I didn't anticipate that happening.
I'm going to give myself a Keyshawn Johnson moment, a little pat on the back here. Can you remember after that Panthers game, everybody's like,
I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember, because I remember. Everybody's like, well, the Bears, I'm telling you, they're going to be good. I'm like, all right. They're about to end up playing a lot of tough teams, and their defense, it feels like their defense was so exceptional. It was keeping them involved in ball games, but obviously they had a lot of questions with the quarterback position. Obviously now losing 5 in a row. Look, man, this team was never what exactly they were, Key. And it's interesting to me, Matt Nagy, all I've heard people talk about him is a quarterback guru. Quarterback guru, right? Those are the words I heard to describe Matt Nagy. Not you, Key, but other people in our profession, experts.
That's how he got the job.
This is what he was supposed to do, right? That's how he got the job. So I'm sitting there watching this, quarterback expert. Nick Foles gets inserted into the lineup, questions. You're not giving your quarterback that get drafted the extra attention. It's an absolute disaster and mess.
He certainly dropped the ball on the quarterback situation. There's no question about it. And the reason that I say you don't turn to Nick Foles at 3-0, because you were winning games. And whenever you win, it's hard as hell to win games in the National Football League. You only get 16 of them. And you had 3 in your back pocket. So when you look at that, no matter how you're doing it, as ugly as the New England Patriots offense looked yesterday, guess what they did?
They won.
They won.
They won.
And they won. And they won. That's all that matters.
Covers all the flaws.
When you look at what he did going to Nick Foles, it's like, okay, Nick Foles won a game for you. All right, but you've lost 5 in a row now. You lost 5 in a row. So with a hope and a prayer, you inserted Trubisky back into the lineup when he should have never been taken out, hoping that he could maybe ignite some energy into the offense. The offense was going to be the same as it's always been. But when you let the air out of the room by benching him to begin with, people on the team, other players on the defensive side, they see that. They see them quarterbacks in practice too. In practice is the easiest thing you've ever seen in the National Football League. Well, everybody's great in practice. So I'm sure Nick Foles was spitting that thing out, and it was hitting on everybody's in their hands, and it was perfect. But then when you go to the games, you know who Nick Foles is. Nick Foles is a quarterback that can hold it down for a couple games, and that's it. He's that manageable guy for 2 or 3 games, get you over the hump if somebody gets hurt. But he's not the guy who you say, well, I'm benching Jay Will. I'm going to Nick Foles because he's better.
Key, one of my friends I played AAU ball with, his mom would always say this when she saw somebody really tall who didn't play basketball. She'd be like, oh, you're kind of a waste of tall.
No,
right?
big for no reason.
Right? A waste of tall, right? That's what I want to say about their defense. That's a waste of a great defense. I mean, granted, their defense is getting beaten down over this period of time, but if you had a serviceable quarterback, I mean, they could find themselves serviceable quarterback. You could find yourselves potentially in a wild card opportunity and a Super Bowl opportunity.
No matter how great the defenses are in these leagues, if they on the field after straight 3 and outs and 5 and outs and interceptions, they're going to be deflated. Exactly. I mean, that's just what it is. If you think about how Chicago made it to the Super Bowl under Lovie Smith, the defense was lights out, and they had a serviceable guy in Rex Grossman. I said Rex Ryan. Rex Grossman, serviceable guy.
Seemingly always been the plan in Chicago, right?
That's the
Great
plan
defense,
in Chicago.
That's their DNA.
So why all of a sudden do you have to go to Nick Foles when the guy you had in Mitch Trubisky was just this serviceable guy? Goes back to justification. We went up to grab him at number 2. We have to now try to justify who he is as a quarterback, so we're going to throw the ball all over the lot. No, just hand the ball off, run the ball, dink and dunk, and let your defense win the game.
Pull a Baker Mayfield.
Let me ask both of you guys this question because you guys have been through the ringer of a season, a couple seasons. Quick thing for Mitch Trubisky. Next up is the Lions. The Lions are in turmoil. If there is one team, believe it or not, that Trubisky has actually played great against in his career,
Lions
dominated the Lions. I'm not sure what that means. Probably means nothing, but they are next. So if the Bears want to try to snap that 5-game losing streak, it's actually the one opponent of the other 31 that Trubisky certainly wants to see. Help me understand this, whether it's basketball or football. On January 6th, 2019, so just about 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago. All right, January 6th, 2019. The Bears lost a playoff game to the Eagles on the infamous double doink field goal. You might remember that, essentially, where boom, boom, Bears had the hit at the upright, hit the crossbar, didn't go through, and their season was shot. But the future was bright. Trubisky had gotten them through enough. They had this hot young coach. They had Khalil Mack, as Jay's referenced, the Bears defense. Don't worry about it. It's the first time we made the playoffs, I believe, in about 8 years. They'd not made the playoffs in 8 years at that point. Things are looking up with the QB position. He'll get better because we got a QB whisperer, as Jay said, with Matt Nagy, and we got Khalil Mack. In less than 2 years, the building has imploded. How does that happen in less than 2 years?
Because you go from January to September. That's a long time, right? That's a long time from January to September.
The offseason.
The offseason. So now you want to be smart and bright. I could do this with him and I could do that. And